The old prison stood on a hill, its walls gray and cold. Inside were men who had done bad things, very bad things. I was there to talk to them, to try and see what was inside their minds. I wanted to know why they did what they did. People called them monsters, but I thought they were still people, even if they were broken. My name is Dr. Emily Carter, and I study the minds of killers. I want to learn how they think so that maybe we can stop others from becoming like them. It is a hard job and it takes a lot out of me, but I think it is important. My first meeting was with a man named John Blake. He was known as the Butcher because of how he hurt his victims. He sat across from me in a small room. The table was metal and the chairs were bolted to the floor. He did not look like a monster. He looked like an ordinary man, but his eyes were empty, like looking into a dark hole. I started by asking him about his childhood. He told me about his parents and how they fought all the time. He said his father was mean and his mother was sad. He did not have many friends and he felt alone a lot. As he talked, I wrote notes in my book. I looked for things that might tell me why he became who he was. He said he started hurting animals when he was young. It made him feel powerful and in control. He liked the way they cried. Then he started hurting people. He said it was like a switch flipped in his head. He could not stop himself. He knew it was wrong, but he did not care. He liked the feeling of power, the feeling of taking someone's life. I asked him if he felt bad about what he did. He said no. He said they deserved it. He said they were all bad people. As I listened to him, I felt a cold feeling inside me. It was hard to believe that someone could be so cruel, so without feeling. The next day I met with a woman named Sarah Jones. She was called the Spider because she trapped her victims. She was very smart and very good at lying. She had a way of making people trust her. Then she would use them and hurt them. She sat across from me with a smile on her face. She looked like someone you could be friends with, but I knew better. I asked her about her life and she told me a story about how she was always used and how she always felt like people were trying to get something from her. She said she decided to start using people first. She said it was the only way to survive. As she talked, I saw a pattern. She saw herself as a victim. She thought she was just protecting herself. I asked her if she ever felt sorry for the people she hurt. She said only if they were stupid. She said if they were smart, they would have seen it coming. After that, I spoke with a man named Michael Davis. They called him the Shadow because nobody ever saw him. He was very careful and very quiet. He planned everything out and he never left any clues. He was the hardest one to catch. He sat across from me and did not say anything for a long time. He just stared at me with his cold eyes. I asked him why he did it. He said he did not know. He said it was like a game to him. He liked trying to get away with it. He said he felt alive when he was planning a murder. It made him feel like he was in control of something. He said the world was chaos, but he could make order out of it by choosing who lived and who died. I asked him if he ever thought about the families of the people he killed. He said no. He said they did not matter. He said only he mattered. As I sat there, I felt like I was looking into a black hole. There was nothing inside him, no feelings, no guilt, just emptiness. I spent months talking to these killers. I learned a lot about how they thought and how they saw the world, but I also learned something about myself. I learned that it is easy to judge people, but it is harder to understand them. I learned that everyone has a story and that sometimes bad things happen to good people. But I also learned that some people are just bad and that there is nothing you can do to change them. The work was hard and it changed me. I started to see the darkness in the world more clearly. I had nightmares about the things these killers had done, but I kept going because I believed that what I was doing was important. I hoped that by understanding these minds I could help to prevent future tragedies. After each interview, I would go back to my office and write down everything I remembered. I wanted to make sure I did not forget anything. I would also talk to my therapist. She helped me deal with the stress and the emotions that came with this job. One day I was looking through the files of all the killers I had interviewed. I started to notice something strange. There were connections between them, connections that nobody had seen before. They all had similar childhoods. They all felt like they were outsiders. They all had a history of violence, but there was something else, something more specific. They all had been to the same summer camp when they were kids. It was a camp for troubled children, a place where kids with problems were sent to try and get better. I looked into the camp and found out that it had been shut down years ago after some bad things happened. There were rumors of abuse and neglect. I started to think that maybe this camp was the key to understanding these killers. Maybe something happened there that changed them, that turned them into monsters. I decided to go to the camp to see if I could find anything. The camp was in the middle of the woods. It was old and run down. The buildings were falling apart. The place felt haunted. As I walked around, I tried to imagine what it must have been like for those kids. I tried to imagine the pain and the fear they must have felt. I went inside one of the cabins. It was dark and dusty. There were old bunk beds and some broken toys. I looked around and found something under one of the beds. It was an old photo album. I opened the album and started to look through the pictures. There were pictures of the kids at the camp. They looked happy and carefree. But then I saw some other pictures that made my blood run cold. There were pictures of the kids being hurt, being abused. There were pictures of the counselors doing terrible things to them. I realized that this camp was not a place of healing, it was a place of torture. I understood now why these killers were the way they were. They had been broken by what happened to them at this camp. They had been turned into monsters by the people who were supposed to protect them. I left the camp feeling sick to my stomach. I knew that I had to do something about what I had found. I went to the police and told them everything. They started an investigation and they found more evidence of the abuse. They arrested some of the old counselors. The case became a big news story. People were shocked and angry. They wanted to know how something like this could have happened. The killers I had interviewed were also brought to justice. They were finally held accountable for their crimes. I felt like I had done something good. I had helped to bring some justice to the world, but I also knew that the damage was done. The lives of those kids had been ruined forever. I continued to study the minds of killers. I learned more and more about what makes them tick. I started to develop new ways to identify potential killers before they committed any crimes. I worked with the police to help them solve cases. I became a respected expert in my field, but I never forgot the lessons I learned from those first interviews. I never forgot the faces of those killers. I knew that they were victims, two victims of a system that had failed them. I hoped that one day we could create a world where such things would never happen again. My journey into the mind of a psychopath was a dark and difficult one, but it was also a journey that changed my life. It taught me about the darkness that exists in the world, but it also taught me about the hope that exists in the human spirit. And it reminded me that even the most broken people are still people, and they deserve our understanding and our compassion. The prison walls remained gray and cold, a constant reminder of the work still to be done.